to talk about the bow hand today, and particularly about what each finger does on the bow, because the better your understanding is of what each finger is supposed to do, the easier it will be to actually understand the Franco-Belgian bow hold. That's what we're talking about today. This is the Franco-Belgian bow hold. And the first thing we're going to start with is the so-called Franco-Belgian ring. That's a ring between thumb and second finger. So your thumb and your second finger make a ring, and the reason for that is so that you can't drop the bow. As long as you have this ring, even if all the other fingers are gone, you can't drop the bow. So that gives you a nice feeling of security. It also helps you keep your thumb round, very important, because you need the flexibility. So you start off with this ring. The first finger's job is to apply weight in the upper half of the bow. So when you play in the upper half of the bow, the first finger applies weight. You can get a feel for that by placing the bow on the string slightly above the middle and have the first finger press down the stick. It can press it down all the way until it's on the hairs. That's done by the first finger. You tilt your hand forward slightly and let the first finger apply weight to press down the stick. That's the job of the first finger in the upper half. If it doesn't do that, you don't have enough weight on the string. So the bow's not heavy enough up here. So you need the first finger to apply weight in the upper half. That's the first finger's job. The fourth finger's job is the reverse. The fourth finger carries the stick of the bow in the lower half. That's this. That's what the fourth finger's job is. It's very important to place the fourth finger not on top of the stick like this, because it can slide off easily, but to place it in front of the stick here. That's very important because here it can't slide off. So fourth finger's job is to carry the stick of the bow in the lower half. So the bow is too heavy in the lower half and of the frog. So the fourth finger has to carry, by applying weight or pressure on the stick, it has to carry the weight of the bow in the lower half. That's the fourth finger's job. The third finger's job, the third finger is placed approximately on the eye of the frog. The third finger's job is to move the bow laterally. It does this. It pulls the bow into the hand. So you need that for a straight bow in the lower half, because if you're coming from here, I'll exaggerate slightly, if you're coming from here, you need the third finger to pull the bow into the hand and straighten the angle. So if you're coming from here, it's the third finger which helps you do this curve that you need in the lower half. If the bow is straight, it's hardly visible. It's a very small movement, but exaggerated, it's like this. So it doesn't hurt to actually do that a couple of times above the string to get a feel for the job of the third finger, and then play, exaggerating it a little bit, to get an idea of what the third finger is supposed to do with the bow. So that's the jobs of the four fingers, and there's a very, very good exercise for actually getting a good feel for what these fingers are supposed to be doing. You start at the frog and you lift your first finger, because you don't need it at the frog. The fourth finger carries the weight. That's the fourth finger's job. Then you put your first finger down, and when you get to the middle, you lift your fourth finger and you lift your third finger. And when you get just before the middle, you put your third finger down again and you put your fourth finger down again. And then you lift your first. exercise because basically your hand is leaning forward in the upper half and leaning back in the lower half, and that is done by the so-called forearm rotation. Exaggerated, it's this movement. It's like opening a doorknob, that's what it's doing. It's done by the whole arm, but it's very slight, so you don't notice it very much. You're leaning your hand forward in the upper half and you're leaning it back in the lower half. And this exercise gives you a good feel for it. Now the next step, when you've done that a couple of times, do that on all strings, is just to lift the first finger when you're at the frog, put it down in the middle and lift the fourth, put the fourth finger down and lift the first. Do that a couple of times, and then don't lift your fingers, but get the same feel of weight distribution. Weight leans towards first finger, and then your weight distribution leans towards the fourth finger. So that's why this is so crucial in bow technique. This exercise is very important because that's actually what you're doing when you're playing a full bow. You're applying weight to the first finger, and down here the fourth finger carries the stick of the bow. So those are the jobs of the four fingers. The more you get a feel for that, the more you will have a functional bow hold. It's not a matter of placing the fingers in the correct position. Of course you need to place them in the correct position, but the reason you need to do that is so that they can actually do their jobs. So that's the most important thing with the bow hold. Practice those exercises because you really get a very, very good feel of the jobs that the fingers do and why they are so important for sound in the upper half and in the lower half. Once I understood that, sound production became a lot easier.